Why doesn't the Prime Minister just say the truth and tell Indigenous peoples that he doesn't give a about their rights?
Tonight, some strong language from NDP MP Romeo Saganash, who says the Trudeau Liberals don't care about Indigenous rights.
What's our planet going to look like in 7 generations with this headlong rush to have oil pipelines across the country?
The Greens have a new leader in Alberta, and she's the first Indigenous woman to lead a provincial political party.
I'd like to bring an airline to the industry that does things differently.
And the first airline owned by an Indigenous woman launches with the blessing of the Musqueam Nation.
Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward.
And I'm Melissa Ridgen. We begin tonight in Ottawa, where the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion dominated the talk of the House in the House of Commons. The NDP responded to yesterday's Conservative plan of how they would build the pipeline.
As well, the subject was frequently brought up in a raucous session of question period, which culminated as Todd Lamoran reports in one MP dropping an F-bomb.
Oral questions, questions orales.
Conservatives and NDP grilled the government on Trans Mountain. But NDP MP Romeo Saganash used some unparliamentary language in his question to the government.
Mr. Speaker, when the Prime Minister insists that this pipeline expansion will be done no matter what, and his minister adds that Canada will not be able to accommodate all Indigenous concerns, what that means is that they have decided to willfully violate their constitutional duties and obligations. Mr. Speaker, sounds like a most important relationship, doesn't it? Why doesn't the Prime Minister just say the truth and tell Indigenous peoples that he doesn't give a about their rights?
Speaker of the House, Jeff Regan, immediately asked Saganash to withdraw the word and apologize, which he immediately did. After question period, Nathan Collin was asked to comment on Saganash.
He used language that's not appropriate for Parliament, but is certainly understandable for somebody who has at such a personal level experienced this country betray him and all Indigenous Canadians over and over again to this very day.
Collin and the NDP's British Columbia caucus stood in the foyer to oppose a plan by Conservative leader Andrew Scheer. The day before, Scheer put forth his plan to build the pipeline, which included the appointment of a ministerial special representative to complete consultations as soon as possible.
See, there is the notion there. There's two things wrong with both what Mr. Scheer and Mr. Trudeau are saying. They're saying the outcome is already determined. Now we're going to go out and meaningfully consult. It's the opposite of what the definition of meaningful consultation is. That when you consult with somebody in a deep and meaningful way, all options are on the table. This is what the courts have talked about.
APTN National Chief Perry Bellegarde suggested moving the pipeline's outlet to Tsawwassen, BC. Green Party leader Elizabeth May said that wouldn't solve all the problems.
No doubt there are things you can do in changing the pipeline route that may accommodate some of the concerns, but they fundamentally cannot accommodate the climate concerns. They fundamentally cannot accommodate the jobs concerns, because building a pipeline drains jobs out of Canada to other countries.
Todd Lamoran, APTN National News, Ottawa.
The chief of First Nation on the British Columbia coast is taking issue with an idea being floated by the National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations. In an interview with the Canadian press, Perry Bellegarde said it would be easier to get the Trans Mountain Pipeline built if the government moves the route and the marine shipping terminal to avoid Indigenous communities opposed to the project. Bellegarde is quoted as saying, "So why not move the terminal? Why don't you move it to Tsawwassen?" He continues by saying they're not going to change their minds, so why not find a different outlet? It might take a little longer, but it's a win-win-win. But the chief of Tsawwassen strongly disagrees. Chief Bryce Williams says Tsawwassen First Nation does not support the proposed pipeline and would not accept relocating the project to either our territory or land near our community. The national chief was unavailable for comment. Yesterday, we told you about Alberta having the country's first ever Indigenous female political party leader. Cheryl Chagnon Greyeyes was elected to lead the Green Party of Alberta, and our Tamara Pimentel caught up with her to find out more about this trailblazer.
I've been an activist for a long time. Always wanted to save the world ever since I was a little girl.
Cheryl Shenyang Grey Eyes performs a drum song after a victory that would be her first step towards saving the world. She was elected leader of Alberta's Green Party, the first for an Indigenous woman to become a party leader in Canada. And for Shenyang Grey Eyes, the Green Party is close to the heart.
When I did my research, it occurred to me that the 6 principles of the Green Party, the international Green Party, the only international political party, align with the 7 sacred teachings of the Cree. I'm Cree. I'm a Cree woman from Musqueam Nation, Saskatchewan, Treaty 6. And I'm going, how come nobody's picked this up before? This is as close as we get to an Indigenous party. These are values of balance and moderation, of putting people over profits.
A factor that encouraged her to run was Premier Rachel Notley's decision to back the proposed Kinder Morgan pipeline.
I felt betrayed. I felt very much stabbed in the back and totally against the NDP platform that I knew and was familiar with. So I was angry and upset and felt rather hopeless, like what am I going to do?
So she ran and won, now ready to put those Indigenous teachings to action.
I really want to push the fact that we are caring about people. We care about the environment. We care about our Mother Earth. We are looking 7 generations to the future. What's our planet going to look like in 7 generations with this headlong rush to have oil pipelines across the country?
She says the province should be looking at energy alternatives and refining its oil in Alberta.
Let's keep the jobs here in Alberta. Why do we have to ship it out of the province? I'm asking these questions and I'm not getting good answers.
Shenyang Grey Eyes is an environmental activist who works at the University of Calgary and now will be leading the Green Party when the provincial elections take place in the spring. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
Between 2014 and 2017, 12 children in care of Ontario's Children's Aid Societies died. 8 of them were Indigenous. The Chief Coroner released a report today that had an expert panel review those cases. Our Thunder Bay reporter Willow Fiddler joins us now to fill us in. Willow, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a bit about this report?
So the report is the result of what the Chief Coroner calls an expert panel. 7 people he selected with expertise in areas of mental health, government administration, and First Nations communities. The panel looked at the cases of 12 young people who died between January of 2014 and July of 2017. All 12 of those young people had been in the care of a Children's Aid Society or Indigenous Children's Wellbeing Society. 5 of those deaths occurred within the first 6 months of 2017, which is what really prompted the coroner to start this review. 8 of those 12 young people were Indigenous, and 6 of them from Anishinaabe Nation territory, which of course covers a very large part of the province.
So what were some of the things that they found?
So the panel looked at things like the different service systems within child protection, where the young people had been placed, their family and community histories. Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler of Anishinaabe Nation said the report confirms what they've known all along, and that's that the overall quality of care for children under protection is inadequate and failing them. All 12 young people whose cases were reviewed had mental health challenges, so histories of self-harming behaviors and suicide attempts. The report said that these young people were often in crisis modes until the next crisis occurred, and ensuring their safety and providing intervention often meant simply making sure they had a bed to sleep in and a one-to-one worker present. This was a pattern that continued over and over again in these cases. Grand Chief Fiddler also said the most troubling thing that he found in the report was the lack of tracking mechanisms. So there was no communication between agencies and workers when these children were transferred between homes and placements. The panel also discovered that these young people were placed on in an average of 12 different homes before they died.
What do the families of these young people have to say about the report?
So we know that two of the cases that were reviewed were Kanina Sioux Turtle. She was 15 years old. when she died. She was placed in a foster home under the care of Tikanagan Child and Family Services in Sulikout, and she had a history of suicide attempts that were known to Tikanagan, yet she was left alone for 45 minutes when she died. Amy Owens is a 13-year-old young girl who also died by suicide in a residential program in Eastern Ontario. She was to be placed in under 24-hour supervision, but there were no spaces or room for her for that. The parents of Amy and Kanina are both frustrated that the report didn't give them the answers that they were hoping for. Kanina's mom, Barbara, has repeatedly asked Tikanagan why her daughter was left alone for 45 minutes when she died, and she's still waiting for an answer for that.
And Willow, what now comes of this report?
Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler is going to be calling on the ministers responsible to form a task force or committee to implement the recommendations. He also said that the NAN chiefs will be meeting in Assembly in November, at which time he expects to receive some direction from them in response to this report. He said that could mean a transformation act similar to the one that they're doing for health in NAN right now.
Important report, Willow. Appreciate you taking some time to speak with us about it today.
Thanks.
For the first time in 15 years, the number of children in Manitoba's child welfare system has dropped. An upcoming Families Department annual report shows that as of March 31st, there was a 3.6% drop from the same time last year. Families Minister Heather Stephenson says the government has tried to focus more to help families before they reach a crisis point. Manitoba has the highest per capita rate of children in care. Almost 90% of them are Indigenous. It's a baby boom for Métis Children's Line in Saskatchewan.
We have that story coming up, but first, here's a look at tomorrow's very wet weather forecast. Here's a look at Wednesday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. Rain and 19 for Charlottetown and Halifax. Rain and 16 for Happy Valley Goose Bay. 13 with rain in Nain. 22 and rain in Montreal. 19 with rain in Toronto, 17 with rain in London. In Thunder Bay, 11 with rain, 9 and rain in Sioux Lookout. In Puckatawagan, 7 with rain, the same temperature for the Paw, 5 and rain for Thompson. Rain as well for Winnipeg and Gimli with highs of 10. Over to Saskatchewan, and there's more rain, 14 for Regina, 13 in Estevan. To the north, you can expect more rain, 7 in Stony Rapids, 5 in Uranium City.
Welcome back. Canada's first Indigenous woman-owned airline is about to hit the friendly skies, connecting remote Indigenous communities across British Columbia. APTN's Tina House has the story.
With the brushing off with cedar boughs, Esqueo Air received a traditional blessing ceremony from the Musqueam Nation.
It was really important for us to start the business in a good way, and what that means is to ask permission of the Musqueam people to operate, to conduct business on their sacred unceded territory.
Tira Fraser is the CEO and says she's proud to be the first Indigenous woman to have her own airline. She's Métis, born in Hay River, Northwest Territories, and eventually she moved to the Lower Mainland when she was 19. She says her life changed in 2001 when she took a flight to Africa in a small plane. She became very inspired. Soon after, she got her commercial pilot's license and started an aerial survey company called Keswick Aerial Survey, which she sold in 2016.
I wanted to do this because I have expertise in aviation. I'm from small, remote communities and understand the importance of connecting into small communities. I am passionate and inspired about Indigenous tourism, and I have a passion for leadership, and I'd like to bring an airline to the industry that does things differently.
And today, it's all about celebrating that vision. Friends, family, and colleagues are here to support her and offer their congratulations.
I'm so proud of her as an Indigenous woman, as a pilot, as a woman who is a pilot, an Indigenous woman who's a pilot, who now, she bought a plane. She started her own airline.
It makes me very, very happy, you know, for her to be doing this. Very happy.
And with a strong sense of culture and respect for tradition, Tira Fraser hopes this airline will grow into something very special. The word Esqueo is a Cree word meaning woman, and this Piper Navajo Chieftain is an 8-seat aircraft that will start flying in March of 2019. The company will be announcing their routes in the next few months. Tina House, APTN National News, Richmond.
Congrats. A unique children's clothing line in Saskatchewan is taking off as well. Oasis Boutique is an Indigenous-inspired kids line and the first of its kind in Saskatchewan. APTN's Amber Bernard has the story.
Christine Marie took matters into her own hands when she couldn't find Métis Indigenous clothing for her kids. So she decided to make her own line, and Oasis Boutique was born in the comfort of her own home.
So Oasis Boutique is the first Indigenous-based baby and kids line in Saskatchewan. Oasis stands for Child in Cree, and so it incorporates that traditional element just within the business name as well as throughout the products.
Marie started last February online and is now in several local shops across Saskatoon. She has since sold over 750 onesies alone, and she says the positive support and encouragement is overwhelming and has her culture.
It's all kinds of emotions. You know, sometimes I get teary-eyed, right, because it's a way that you connect with people, but then also it's a way to celebrate the Indigenous culture.
Her unique line incorporates Métis Cree words and humor, something she says her customers appreciate.
Bannock baby, just jigging, and new to the tribe. People just, they laugh, they smile, I don't know, it gives them warm fuzzies, you know, and that's what you want with your products, right? So those are some of the most popular ones.
Marie says giving back to children's charities is a part of her business's mandate because of her own upbringing and the importance of being cared for.
And anybody that could come alongside me and just cheer me on or encourage me or believe in me, I want to be able to do that to other kids as well.
Amber Bernard, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
A new piece of art is just a tease of what's to come in Winnipeg's Inuit Art Centre. We'll take a sneak peek after the break.
And a new space offers computer programming for kids in Iqaluit. First, here's the rest of tomorrow's weather. Here's the rest of Wednesday's weather forecast, picking back up in northern Alberta. Finally, a place without rain, high level, with a high of +8 under the sun. Rain and 8 for Fort McMurray. 14 and rain for Medicine Hat. 11 with rain in Calgary. Over to British Columbia, plenty of sun. 23 under the sun for Penticton and Kamloops. 12 and sunny for Fort Nelson. Rain and 8 for Dease Lake. Mayo and Dawson with a high of 9 under sunny skies. Over to NWT, 8 and sunny for Fort Liard and Trout Lake, +4 and sun in Yellowknife. Snow for Sax Harbor and -3. Snow as well for Paulatuck and -2. 0 in Chesterfield, +1 in Whale Cove, 2 above in Arviette. -6 for Aglulik, -8 in Resolute.
An award-winning Nunavut program that teaches Northern kids computer programming now has a full-time Nunavut address. Our Kent Driscoll stopped by the opening of Iqaluit's new marker space.
This used to be the yoga studio. Now this tiny building in Iqaluit won't be stretching bodies. They'll be stretching minds. This is a maker space now. What's a makerspace? Almost exactly what it sounds like.
I guess at the end of the day, a makerspace is just a spot to create at its very base level. And so what it's often associated with and what it'll be here is a spot to create using technology. And so it's a spot to get access to tech that people may not have at home, and to create and explore with it, and for us to run educational camps and opportunities and things like that, and just create.
Oliver's group, Pinguac, won the Arctic Inspiration Prize, $1.5 million split between 5 groups, and they've used the money to expand their programming. This is a camp they ran in Iqaluit over the summer using Minecraft to teach computer coding. Minecraft is still on the menu at the Makerspace, just with a more stable home.
What's really nice about it is because now we have a spot we can regularly be working with kids, we can iterate on our curriculum, we can iterate on the stuff we're doing on a regular basis so that we can make better and better stuff always and constantly make it available to the community.
This facility will be a hub to deliver programming all over Baffin Island, and there is no computer literacy offered in Nunavut schools. Talia Mituk attended one of the programs as a student in Pangertung, and now has a game about Inuit mythology and testing. She is a maker.
For a very long time. But I finally talked about it with Ryan last year, and he agreed to make the app. So, and when I was in high school, we were taught the Inuit mythologies all the time, but now they're not really teaching it anymore.
1-year lease on this building. If the day one turnout is any indication, this makerspace has a hopeful future. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
The Winnipeg Art Gallery's Inuit Art Centre is not set to open until 2020. But one temporary piece of art is in place, showing what's to come. Kayleigh Shepard, a local artist of Inuit descent, has created a mural in front of the gallery that will help build momentum towards the opening of the Inuit Art Centre. The mural was completed on a wood structure that protects the sidewalk from the construction on Memorial Boulevard, titled Mosaic Sea. The mural was created in collaboration with graffiti art programming and synonym art consultation, where Shepard is being mentored. Shepard spoke about the importance of both Inuit art and culture and what it means to her.
I want to bring awareness to the Inuit culture because it was actually very hard for me to learn about it because a lot of it was actually erased in the past.
The mural will stand for the next year or more until the opening of the Inuit Art Centre.
Well, that's all the news we have for you here tonight.
But you can always find more on our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward.
And I'm Melissa Ridge, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.